Nintendo Nation.
The Legend of Zelda invokes strong emotion in me. From the very first entry, all the way up until Breath of the Wild, with few exceptions, the games have been part of my life. That's almost 30 years of my life where I've looked forward to and been rewarded by the games. We should all be so lucky to find a hobby, a very particular subset of that hobby, and to have it be so fulfilling. It might sound silly, but Zelda has somewhat shaped me into the adult I am now. And it is the single franchise I can point to when someone asks me what my favorite is. The spirit of The Legend of Zelda harkens back to Shigeru Miyamoto's childhood. Often referred to as the godfather of video games for his work on Super Mario, The Legend of Zelda, Animal Crossing, Star Fox, and many, many more Nintendo IP, as a child, Miyamoto would explore the countryside, crossing creeks, finding caves, looking for adventure. His inspiration behind designing the world in The Legend of Zelda was wonderfully innate, a deep understanding of wanting to re-experience those childhood adventures in pixel form. The Legend of Zelda for the Nintendo Entertainment System defined open world long before anyone knew what that term meant. Dropped into the world with no weapon, no identity, your task isn't clear. Games back then were usually played alongside the game manual, and it was only with this manual that any sort of progress could be made that couldn't be called blind luck. Now infamously, Ganon can be beaten without completing all of the dungeons. However, starting with the first certainly makes the game easier. But the game really is your canvas. Go out your back door and explore the woods. For many years, this sense of exploration dissipated in The Legend of Zelda. That's not to say that games got worse. On the contrary, I believe that over the years, Nintendo refined the Zelda formula, culminating with the Wind Waker, in my opinion. Ocarina of Time gets all the headlines as the greatest Zelda game, and to be perfectly honest, that game is the one that solidifies in most people's minds how great the series is. But for me personally, Wind Waker, and particularly Wind Waker HD, does everything in the spirit of Legend of Zelda for NES exceptionally well. The Wind Waker, of course, invokes a sailing mechanic, and sailing across a mostly unexplored sea to discover islands and find secrets is really what it's all about for me, and the world is absolutely huge. There's tons to do, islands on each grid, varying degrees of exploration on each. The story is epic on top of it all. The world is flooded. Are you kidding me? Under it all sits Hyrule, with an end fight with Ganondorf more than worthy of the death strike Link rains down upon him. Yeah, I could listen to that all day. Other Legend of Zelda games are far more structured, though they give the appearance of being fairly open. Wind Waker was really the first game since the original that captured that spirit of adventure and exploration so well. It isn't a coincidence that Nintendo looked to recapture some of that magic with Breath of the Wild. In what many consider the best open world game ever made, I think it's important to consider that it had some pretty great influences that bear the same name. Without the original dropping us into a vast world with no explanation, there is no way Breath of the Wild is the same game. And while some feel like Breath of the Wild strays too far from the traditional 3D Zelda game, it certainly can't be denied how well it captures the spirit of The Legend of Zelda. Turning left has never been rewarded more in a Zelda game, and its roots are easy to trace. Breath of the Wild even allows players to fight Ganon within hours of starting the game, an unheard of modern game design. All three titles, though very different, shared that same sense of wonder and excitement. What's around the next corner? Nintendo went backwards to move forwards, and they captured that spirit that Miyamoto so brilliantly crafted all those years ago. Breath of the Wild found its footing with the spirit of The Legend of Zelda and offered an amazing experience because of it. Whatever comes next in the series, Nintendo can always keep that spirit in mind.